Welcome back, guys. I'm Zell, and today we've got the Custom Knife Factory milk to look at. Alright guys, I have no idea why this thing's called a milk, and it doesn't matter because whenever this thing showed up, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be my baby. Now this is one that Seth lent to us so that we could get a look at on the camera. And whenever it showed up, man, I was excited about it because he told me I could use this one, I could carry it, I could beat on it and all these things, and it's right in my ballpark. It's a 4.32 inch blade and a nice skinny 0.49 handle. It's only 1.1 inches tall, and it only weighs 4.28 ounces. It's right in my ballpark, right where I would love to be, and I stuck it in my pocket the next morning, and I was excited, and we'll get to why I got kind of a little upset about the knife later on in the video. First off, let's get a good look at it. And what we have is nice titanium scales that are a bit understated. Just got this one swoop in there and a little bit of milling here, a little bit here. Nice contouring, but nothing crazy. And I like it. It makes for a good EDC knife. And we've got a nice backspacer, a little bit of jimping down here in case you have to get in that reverse grip. Have our knife number right there. Some holes, and it does say milk right there. Still don't know what the milk means, but hey, that's all right. And a nice flipper tab's got just a little bit of jimping on it, but nothing that's going to tear up your hands. Got our stop pin sticking out here. That's to keep the knife as compact as possible. And looks a little odd, but hey, that's okay. I still like the knife a lot. And around here we've got our lock bar cut out, another little swoop right through there in the milling, and overall it's just beautiful. Now we do have this big custom pivot over here, and you guys know I'm not a big fan of goofy custom pivots that you have to have very specific tools for, and they don't fit anything else on the knife. But you know, if it was my knife, it'd be okay because I could use a flat screwdriver if I did need to make an adjustment. And let's get some comparison done here. We got our Buck 110, and the Buck 110 is a little smaller. Delica's a lot smaller, obviously. And just for fun, we still got the field chopper out here, folding field chopper. And the folding field chopper makes it look small, which this knife is not small. The field chopper is just ridiculously big. And from here, let's move on to the blade. And this is where it just gets beautiful. Look at that hand rub finish on that guy. It's a big old piece of M390. It's 4 millimeters thick, 0.158. We put a pretty nice edge on it. I have used it some, so it's not quite as shiny as it could be. But man, that's what got me. That blade. I was like, wow, that is awesome. And the action is great too. And it's not swedged or anything. We just got a nice drop and raise and down to our point. You got a drop point basically. And it's full flat ground. Like I said, M390, and I kind of like that M390 stuff. Very, very beautiful blade. And from here, we'll move on to our pause and read card, and I'll be right back with you. Alright, so now we got to get to the mechanical bits, and I'm just going to tell you straight what the mechanicals are, and we'll get to my complaints with them here in a minute. We've got a ball bearing pivot, and it works good. Works really, really good. Of course, it's a frame lock design. There's our lockup, and the lockup is solid. No problems there. And of course, the blade falls right down the center, just like it should. And it's just, whenever it's right, everything is beautiful. And we'll throw it in the pocket of the Levi's real quick, and then move on to ergonomics. But here is a beautiful thing. Down in the pocket of the Levi's, we don't have a whole lot sticking out, and I carried this some, and even though it has that pointy shape, it didn't seem to bang into things. And, you know, there's not a lot of space there under that clip. But what I found was this clip has a lot more spring in it than most of the titanium clips out there. And I was able to put this safely in my 511 cargo pants. It'll fit down in Cintos work pants. It's a very forgiving clip with that extra amount of spring to it. And that's a beautiful thing. Now back to one more bit on the mechanical stuff that I want to point out. Right here, you have 2 screws holding this in, and watch what this backspacer will do. If I can get it in the light right, I can sit right there and push that backspacer in several thousandths. Don't like that a whole lot, but it's not a killer deal. So let's get to ergonomics. Whenever you got this thing in your hand, it's a very, very simple handle design. And you know I like simple handle designs. Your hand just falls right into it, and your thumb falls right up here on this itty bitty bit of jimping, and you're in great shape. You can get it in a draw cut, very simple handle design, so there's no problems there. You even get this big old knife in a reverse grip and thumb cap it. You know, your regular hammer grip or fist grip for push cutting, not a problem. Everything there is just beautiful. And that is what is so disappointing here. This knife is awesome. The design is simplicity at its best. For me, anyhow, you got that big blade, very simple handle design. It's not audacious. There's no huge fancy this or that about it. It's just great. Alex, the designer, and I can't pronounce his last name, but he just did a wonderful job. And here's the downfall. Somebody let this guy down. Somebody let Alex down in the fastener design department. I stuck this knife in my pocket the first day, right after I got it, and I had checked everything. Everything was fine with the knife. I didn't detect anything weird or odd. And the next day, that day, I used it quite a bit. And sometime in the afternoon, I went to close it, and everything just felt wonky. I closed it down by my waist, and something just didn't feel right. So whenever I got to a place I got to looking at it. And the blade was off-center, badly off-center. Pivots loosened up on me. I opened it up, and I felt weird stuff going on here. Got to look here, and this screw right here, it almost fell out. And I was like, well, what the heck? So I put it in my bag, grabbed another knife, and finished out the day. And whenever I got back to the house that night, I got it out, took it most of the way apart, and got my Loctite gel out, put a little Loctite on it, put everything together, and laid it down, and waited till the next morning and picked it up again. This scenario works with almost every knife, every knife until this one. The next day, the same thing happened to me. Now, this screw here didn't come back loose, but the pivot did. And I'm like, what the heck? And then later in the day, these 2 screws came loose. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on here? So I brought it home again, and this time I dunked it in freaking Loctite. And I put it down in female threads, I put the Loctite on the male threads, screwed everything together, wiped off all the excess, and I let it set for a couple of days. About 48 hours, maybe a little longer. And you shouldn't have to do that. I just did it because I wanted to make sure that every drop of all that extra Loctite I put in there had cured. Now, since then, I haven't had a problem with it. But I should not have to put that much Loctite in a pivot to get it to stay. And now, whenever I had it apart the second time, I did do some investigation. And there are 2 major issues with the fasteners here. First issue is whenever you have the pivot to where you can move it around a little bit, this pivot moves up and down a few thousandths with the threads, a lot more than it should. So those threads are not cut properly, And if that's the way they intended to cut them, I sure hope it isn't. I hope that if you have a Custom Knife Factory milk, that your pivot is not like that. I hope that this is a fluke. And then the other thing I found as I was putting things together is these screws, all of them, are not the best torque screws by any means. They are very, very shallow, and unless you have a fresh, very fresh torque wrench or little torque driver, they are very hard to deal with. And I don't like that. I like whenever you have a nice deep recess in all of your screws. Now, once I Loctited everything down, it of course has been fine. It's been a great knife, but the problem is now I don't trust it. If I have to put that much Loctite in a knife to keep it all together, like I noted, there's other problems with the knife. And also, something else I did not put in the pause and read card is the price, because I've seen this thing priced anywhere from $250 to over $500. So I don't even know what to put in there for a price. I know that Seth, whenever he bought it, he got it for somewhere around $300. And, you know, if the fasteners were good on this knife, it'd be worth every penny of it. But since the fasteners have those issues, it's not. I wish it was. This is an absolutely beautiful knife, and we should probably look at the packaging you get from Custom Knife Factory. You get this, you get certification card, you get this little guy here, and it's a very nice little pouch, and they also send you the tool to work with the kind of a funny shaped pivot there. And yeah, I'm not a fan of those pivots, but at least with this one you could put a flat screwdriver in it, and if it was mine it would probably have already had a flat screwdriver in it. But overall, I think the Custom Knife Factory Milk is a beautiful design that's let down by its hardware. And that's unfortunate, because this would be a knife that I would want to carry regularly if the hardware backed up the design. Anyhow, guys, I really appreciate you taking the time to get a look at the Custom Knife Factory Milk with me. And you guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.